Hey guys, David Chamberlain here at SEMA Day 3. We've made it through Halloween. And the other day we talked about our DI oil and how Driven is getting ahead of the curve with the new SN Plus engine oil classification. Today is Diesel Day. We're going to be talking about Driven's new diesel products. I've got Lake Speed here, again, the brains behind the operation, and he's going to share some of the information on these new products.
All right, thanks, David. If you've been following diesel oils in so far this year, you're probably aware of CK4 being the new diesel spec. And if you haven't heard about it, well, it's basically the new spec of diesel oil that just came out basically into last year, first of this year. It's been kind of making its way into the market this year. And the upside downside is the new diesel oil spec CK4 has already kind of hit some bumps in the road because they've changed the engines they use to do the testing.
Yep.
So there's been some disconnect between some of the applications that people have been using diesel oils for and this new CK4 formula that's available today.
Okay. Tell us about some of the changes, what the CK4 spec is versus the older CJ4 spec.
So the biggest change with CJ4 versus CK4, the new spec, is there's a reduced level of zinc, ZDDP, in the new CK4 spec.
Okay.
And that's a problem for people that have been using diesel oil as a high zinc oil.
Right.
Several years ago, when the zinc levels in the passenger car oils, like the API, SM, SN oils, they're low zinc phosphorus oils to begin with, when they looked for alternatives that had a higher level of ZDP,
they looked to the diesel oils.
They went with diesel oils because back then they had a higher level of zinc and phosphorus.
Right.
Now,
for the hot rod guys and the car enthusiast guys and street performance guys out there that are familiar with using diesel oil for brake-in oil, that's not something they want to do anymore.
You want to stay away.
Right.
The changes with the CK4 have really reduced the ZDP levels down to essentially the same level in some cases as a passenger car oil.
Right.
So there's no different. In fact, we did some rocker arm testing in a gasoline engine where, again, people would sometimes use a diesel oil to break in, and the part just got visibly damaged, a lot of heat.
Right, big difference from this.
Right, when you're using break-in oil plus the proper synthetic compared to this, it's night and day difference.
Right. And also one last thing before we kind of move more into the new diesel products, you're kind of playing Russian roulette when you're taking a diesel engine oil and putting a ZDDP additive on top of it. You're
Correct.
playing chemistry Russian roulette is what I refer to it as. Tell us why that becomes a problem.
Well, because of the new CK4 spec, the actual type of zinc, and a lot of people don't realize there's more than one type of zinc out there.
Right.
They've changed the type of zinc, so when you go take your bottle of mystery molecule, break-in additive, and you put it in the CK4 oil, you don't know if it's going to work. It may not mix properly, and you could get a worse result than if you'd done nothing. And that's an uncommon or unfortunate but commonplace thing that's happening. The more complex,
they're basically competing. Those at a chemical level, it's competing with each other.
Right.
That's great. I think that was important to kind of discuss because so many car guys, which is our main customer base, car show guys, street performance guys, engine builders are familiar. It's train of thought. They use a diesel oil to break their engine in, take a zinc additive, put it on top of it. That's just what they've done for the last 10 years. The diesel oil now has gone through the same changes as far as the zinc is concerned, and even some other things that the gasoline engine oil has gone through.
Yeah, 10 years ago, right?
Right.
For the people who have been using diesel oil as their high zinc oil for the last 10 years, this is a new change. We've already seen cam failures and all that. We're not trying to be prophets of doom and the sky's falling.
Right.
But we're just trying to educate people so they know that it wasn't that long ago I was in a shop and they've been using diesel oil for 10 years because after the passenger car changes and they hadn't had any problems, and then in the last week they had a cam failure that hadn't had in 10 years, and you go pull the bottle, it's the CK4 oil, it's not the old CJ4 they were used to, and that's the problem. And it's not just us seeing it, and it's not just Driven saying, oh, there's a problem with CK4 oil. Ford Motor Company put out a technical bulletin saying, don't use CK4 oil in any of their engines.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what they saw.
Well, because Ford has the Motorcraft brand.
Right, and they're basically voiding warranty on their new vehicles if you're using a CK4 spec.
They say don't use it. They pulled it off all their bottles because they testing it, and they said, we don't see that CK4 oil works across the board in the Ford diesel engines. We want you to use either the old CJ4 oil or this other spec that Ford wrote, which is a mirror image of CJ4.
Right. And within the CK4 spec, there was an engine test that was not held within that spec that they didn't use, that was used prior, that was always used prior in the CJ4 spec, and that was the 3G.
3G. Yep. And so that's the kind of the hidden story here, if you will, is that what changed with CK4,
and that's the wear test,
was a flat tappet engine wear test, which up through CJ4, every diesel oil had to pass a gasoline engine test.
Right.
It was made to work in both gasoline engines and diesel engines. And the wear test for that was the Sequence 3G gasoline flat tappet engine test.
So
CK4
no more
eliminated that.
No
It's
more
gone.
flat tappet powertrain test.
No more
wear
gasoline
test.
test. No more flat tappet test. And that's the issue with CK4, is that you're using an oil that's never been tested, never been formulated to run in a gasoline flat tappet engine. So it's buyer beware, and that's basically why Ford came out and said, don't use it.
Yep.
Which is why we turned around and said, well, you need to have an oil that is designed for flat tappet, engines, especially a lot of the old diesel engines are flat tappets. So a lot of the old Cummins 5.9s, 5.7s are flat tappet, where you need a higher zinc oil. So the DR40 we developed is a CJ4 high zinc diesel oil that gives you that protection that was used to be able to get. Now you can get it with this.
And this is our DR40. Maybe we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Let's talk about what they need to start with first. We talked about the break-in oil that you guys are all familiar with. This is our staple product.
Yep.
For gasoline performance engines.
Correct.
That's what you want to use there. But we've also this year come out with the DBR, the diesel break-in oil. Lake, tell us a little bit about this.
So again, great mention of this, David, because from the BR, which was designed for your gasoline engine oils to break in, a lot of guys now that are getting into diesel performance, doing aftermarket cams or head kits,
higher
turbos,
spring
higher spring pressures, making more power in a diesel. Some guys are using the break-in oil for a diesel engine, which isn't the best idea because diesels, unlike gasoline engines, create soot.
Right.
And when you have soot,
and we talked a little bit about that yesterday with the DI with the DI oil.
So soot can create abrasive wear. Right. So what we did with the DBR is we made a break-in oil that has soot suspending chemistry in it to deal with the soot created by a diesel engine. So it doesn't drop
out of the oil.
Right.
Is there more soot created during break-in? Is there more soot created during break-in?
Yes, because the rings are trying to break in.
The question was from our audience behind us here: is there more soot produced during break-in?
And the answer is yes, because the rings are still bedding in.
Right, so they're not sealed, so it's getting down into the crankcase.
Yeah, you're getting more soot down in the crankcase, which can create more wear. So being able to suspend the soot, deal with the soot, is really important, and that's where the DBR comes into play. And it's also a 15W40 viscosity, so you're breaking in an engine
with the right viscosity,
that most people are going to use a 15W40. That way your oil pressure, your oil flow, everything's what it's supposed to be.
Right. And it's got the additive package to promote the ring seal.
Yes.
And that's extremely important. It's not just for your flat tappet camshaft and followers and
the roller bushings need it, so you reduce the total amount of wear that occurs during break-in. You get the better ring seal, which all that translates into longer life of the engine post break-in.
Okay. And you alluded to the DR40 just a minute ago, so what do they need to do after the diesel break-in oil?
If you're building a diesel engine, especially performance diesel engine, DBR to break it in, then your DR40 is your go-to semi-synthetic 15W40 high zinc oil that will protect the engine at the highest level.
Okay. what are some of the differences in our 1540 semi-synthetic versus some of the diesel oils that you can just buy off the shelf? The big thing, obviously, we talked about was the CK4 spec.
Right.
But even within the CJ4 spec, this meets the CJ4 spec. How is this a better product than some of the earlier CJ4 spec off-the-shelf engine oils?
In a word, metallocene catalyst PAO, MPAO.
Oh, he just dropped the bomb. Mind blown.
There we go. So it's the base oil.
Okay.
So we start off with a CJ4 additive package that's top tier. We use the highest quality base oils. Because it's semi-synthetic, it's because we're taking the NPAO, which is the core base oil in our race stuff.
We're not using a crutch with viscosity modifiers and things like that that pull apart.
No,
right.
We're using shear stable, high load carrying, high performance base oil that adds that extra film thickness, shear protection, load carrying capacity, and that's what sets this product apart.
Great stuff.
So, we got a question from John Wright. He says, should you not use CK4 diesel oil in a modern diesel truck?
No.
The question was, should you not use CK4 engine oil in a diesel truck?
So here's the thing. If the engine manufacturer calls for CK4, then you can use CK4. But if the engine manufacturer called for CJ4,
Like Ford,
or some, I think Peterbilt, some other guys had it, you should use that spec.
right?
They're obviously proven not to be compatible at some level in some engines.
So listen to your manufacturer. I mean, there's engineers in those manufacturers for a reason. They really know what they're doing.
Right.
And we're just trying to build off of that.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. Follow their recommended viscosity, follow the recommended additive package for that, because again, it's not about the oil, it's about the application.
Right. Which is the philosophy of Driven as a whole.
Yep.
We put the application first, not the molecule, as
Exactly.
you've always heard Blake say. Anything else?
All right, I think that's about it for us. Do you guys have any favorite things you've seen at the show so far?
Favorite things at the show so far?
We survived Halloween. That was
We
pretty
survived Halloween. When you can survive Halloween in Vegas, I think that's a good deal.
big. Yeah. I saw some. Of course, being an engine guy, I saw some really cool piston rings the other day, so I was excited about that.
Yeah. I've kind of gotten into the older trucks here recently. I don't have one myself, but being here at SEMA, I mean, there's a lot of nice older trucks. In fact, there was a really neat dropped camper outside.
Well, I got one more for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So my dad, raced NASCAR for 20 years, and the first cup car he ever had was a 76 Monte Carlo. And there's a guy that has one that's completely redone, lowered, it's tricked out there in the lobby. It was pretty cool. I was like,
Yeah.
'cause I've always thought it'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool to have like an old big giant Monte, kind of done nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, just the amount of cool cars here at
yeah.
SEMA. I mean, it almost becomes the norm. You're just walking by. What were we talking yesterday? How many cars are here?
3,000 or 4,000 cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
crazy.
not just like show cars.
Yeah.
yeah.
A plethora of different categories of cars. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I'm going to sign off for now.
Well, guys, we're going to leave you there with that information. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop us a line. I'm David. This is Lake. Day 3 at SEMA. Thank you.
Back tomorrow.